Good morning, everyone. Welcome. This is Angela Coulter and
Sarah C. Avagnani
with special guest,
Yes.
Bringing you this week's Ascended World. So we're here we have to speak loud because now we have the computer all the way back there. We're here in sunny St. Petersburg, Florida, on the tail end of one of our deep dive weekends. And of course, we love to share with everyone what it is that we were focusing on this week. So
Pull up on my phone.
oh yeah, sorry, go pull up so we can see any comments or anything.
Here we go. All right.
Awesome.
Got it.
Great. So we get so excited about when we start doing energy work and when we start really doing conscious creation, right? That we're like, I'm going to change this and I'm going to create this and I'm going to do this and it's great. It's magical and it's fun, right? I find it really fun. Like that's,
Well, and productive.
yes.
Productive, but it's productive to a point. It's
Right.
It's productive, and we're always asking ourselves, I thought I did that. Why am I circling back around and
Right.
seeing it again? And I thought I did that, and yeah, it's a little different, but it's still bothering me. It's still nagging at me, getting my attention, poking at me, like the little kid going,
And they're touching you. And they're touching you.
right. That's a good analogy.
But and we hear that from everybody else too, right? Going, I thought I did that, and then this came up and it just triggered me all over again. Well, guess what? If it still triggers you,
right?
So if it comes up is one thing. If it comes up and it still triggers you, well then then it
totally
doesn't really change.
Well, and then you also get into you see somebody you haven't seen in a long time, and you find yourself recounting the same stories,
Yes.
and the same traumas, so to speak, and with the same energy, with the same, I can't believe this happened, or the hurt, or the shame, or all the things that story bundles.
All the things.
Yeah, all the things that that come as a package with that story, with that event. And that's like saying, okay, I'm gonna uproot this out of the past and plop it right here in my now.
Yeah. Again.
Right.
And again.
Because I didn't get enough of it up here.
Right. Which is true, because as we talk about, having is evidence of wanting, right? In our creation, when we take responsibility for our creation and we're like, oh, well, I obviously still want this here, right? But then, and I know anybody who's done this kind of work will say they know they've had the temper tantrum, right? The 3-year-old going, no, I am done with this. I'm tired of this. I'm ready for something else. Why is this coming back again? Rawr.
Well, we talked about this.
Yes.
I know we've talked about this, and I know that we've brought it up, and I know we said, yes, it feels like it's coming back around, but it's that little bit different. Well, but it's still coming back around.
Like the example you gave a few weeks ago between the circle and the spiral.
Right.
It's like you still go through, like if you look at it from another angle, it's like you're going in the same circle, but no, it's like the spiral.
As long as you don't jump back into the circle, right?
Right.
Exactly.
As long as you don't, or bring what's in the circle out to what's in the spiral.
Yeah, for me, like the testing part is like, okay, how much is triggering me this time around?
Right.
And if it's less, then I'm like, okay, I'm in progress. If it's the same, it's like, gotta look at that again.
What we've been working with, though, is even changing that.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Even changing that to where, yes, you can spiral around, but you're in total observation of it.
Yeah.
You pass by like, oh, see you later.
Yeah. Oh, hey, hey.
But once it gets to that point, it's almost not seen like it's done.
Well, it just is. Yeah. It just is.
It's just right. Yes.
So then how do we get there, right? That's the question, because that's the key that many seem to be missing, right? And we've had our share of that as well.
Oh, absolutely.
Rushing to get through.
Right.
Right. Absolutely.
So we've been talking a lot in this past year about sitting with things, right? Sitting in, letting our egos have the temper tantrum, sitting in the emotion, allowing it to, instead of pushing through, because we have that tendency to say, that's how I can power through this.
And I just need to get through this, because once I'm on the other side, then I believe I'll be done.
Yes.
And
So,
I don't know how many times we've had to prove to ourselves that's not the case.
right. And so we've gone through all this stuff this year, all three of us, on sitting in the emotion, sitting in the ego, sitting in that and just watching, observing it, which is the big first step, observing it without judgment and saying, okay, I'm going to let you have your temper tantrum.
Right, and almost treating yourself as if you're a separate person, and how would I want to treat someone else who I care deeply for when they're experiencing this? And we talk about holding space for people, and we talk about having compassion, and it's like, let's turn the tables and have that for ourselves when we're at that place.
Yes.
Yeah, with a lot of observation, because for me in particular, like all the distractions that I can put in the way, so I don't look at it. You know?
Right, and you believe that that's getting through it.
Yes. 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 And but then until I was gonna say till it hits you guys. Till next time.
Episode.
Right, exactly. So the difference that we're finding is that's making a difference, hopefully, right? But it seems to make a huge difference, is not just sitting with the ego having its temper tantrum, but then coming to a place of sitting with it without judgment and just looking at the whole situation, just like you're watching a movie, right? No, and we do that like when we do past life regressions, right? Like you're watching a movie, like you can detach from it. You don't have to get, so it's like, you don't have to get sucked in, and it's like, okay, so what's the difference with that? Well, that's the meaning of when people say presence, being present with something.
Right, and you know, technically, that's what, when you're holding space for someone, that's what you're doing, is you're allowing them present in whatever it is they're doing, and you're holding that space of, I'm unconditionally here for you. Yes. And when we do that for ourselves, it really makes what we're viewing on that movie screen totally different.
Yes. Well, and and it's just like, I'm just going to look at that. I'm going to look at how it plays out. I'm going to look at how it played out, how it affected me, how it affected those around me, and just look at it in a place of complete, benevolent detachment.
Right. And you can look at it from the perspective of that, you know, the eagle eye view, or, you know, the jet plane view of, oh, I see, well, how this happened, and then it extrapolates out to all this happens. So if that didn't happen, all these things might not have happened, and would I really want that?
Right.
And usually the answer is no, because look at all these good things that happen.
Or as I judge as good things, right? Yeah.
Right. Or things that I truly want, or things that I deem support me.
Yeah.
And so weigh it. If that hadn't have happened, would I have wanted to give this up?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Because then it would have changed the entire ripple effect. So that whole butterfly effect thing.
Right.
And that's, and it's when we talk about that, like in sessions, I've worked with many people who have been abused or raped and all that kind of stuff, or have seen some things that the ego judges as horrendous. And I'm like, okay, so step back, transcend that moment, and just look at it without judgment and say, in the bigger picture of everything, how did that fit in? What did it do to motivate you? What did it do to propel you?
How is your life totally different because of that one event?
Right. And where would you not have been today, or if you had not had that?
Right. And I love all the science fiction where they go back and change time, and the ripple of doing that, and it's something that you don't take lightly,
right? Because
everything is it's that spider web. Everything is so interconnected and interdependent, and we've created it that way on purpose. And we've masterfully arranged everything to be exactly the way it is, to play out exactly the way it does.
And so here's a really good example of what we're talking about. That's really easy and simple to get, because you might say, well, what's the difference from this and this, right? So Sarah and I are doing this. We're doing this practice, this presence practice.
Mindfulness.
That's what I can think of.
Mindfulness.
Mindfulness practice. And there is an exercise of just doing a body scan, right? So anybody who's done energy work knows how to do a body scan. I mean, that's one of the basic things we learn or figure out how to do or whatever. But this body scan is you simply are present with everything. Like, so you start with your toes, each toe, and the space in between each toe. And what do you feel? Do you feel, or do you see, like in your mind's eye, like when you put your attention to it, what do you detect? And you're not to,
what do you see? What do you feel?
right? And it's not to do anything, right? So this is the biggest practice we found, is because you want to go, oh, well, that's a little uncomfortable. Let me shift that, right? Because we're used to doing it. We want to do, right? We want to fix it. We want to do, right? Instead of be, right? So this is when we talk about being with something and just being present with it, that's completely different than shifting something, because what we're finding is if we shift without being with it first and losing the judgment, that's when it comes back around, because then we miss things. Like when we've been talking about like the emotion, right? Sitting with the emotion and having your temper tantrum or whatever. And what I have found this past year in doing that was I saw things about myself that I would have missed had I pushed through it.
Right.
So many things.
Well, and you know, we've talked before about the value of knowing yourself and coming to your authentic place. If you don't allow that, that's a piece of your authenticity that you just pass right by.
Yeah.
That you are totally unaware of.
Maybe you're at a place in life that you're completely different, and it's knowing yourself and reconnecting with yourself.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's like when you say about doing and being, it's like my reminder is I'm not a human doer. I'm a human being.
Right.
Like we're human beings, not human
First.
doers.
Not human doings.
Doings.
Exactly.
But yeah, and so it's been a practice for us to get to that place of just looking at something and right away, because even like intuitively, we're in such practice and been doing it for so long that it's like I will see something sitting in the cells.
Right. Oh, that needs to get out. That needs
And I'm
to
like,
get out.
oh, okay, I can let go of that. It's like, nope, that's doing.
Right.
You're just being with it. And it's like, oh, okay, so I'm going to just sit and look at it and see it and acknowledge it for what it is and how it served me, and ask what is it there to still tell me that I haven't yet gotten.
Well,
Yeah.
and the best part about that practice is to sit there and in that place of acceptance, gratitude just naturally creeps in. It's just a natural consequence or side effect, if you will, of just that complete and utter acceptance. And once you get to that place of gratitude, things just shift.
Yeah.
Things just
Well, then, yeah, you don't even have to.
you don't have to do, because it's natural, because the body's tendency is to be in that natural state of harmony and in that natural state of optimum, vibrant health, wellness, balance. And it takes all our effort to go against that flow and to create it differently.
I think the resistance is like sitting with the emotion, the situation, because
Or even like
saying it, it's like I feel like
yeah.
you know what I mean. So once you pass
Right.
that,
Because the ego was like, nope, propelled.
Yeah, and there are times when I'm sitting with something and it's like, oh gosh, I should do the dishwasher first. I should really just unload that, load it, and then I'll feel good enough to do this. And it's like, okay, if my puppy were writhing in pain and crying, would the dishwasher even occur to me? No. So if I treat myself or a baby, or a cat or whatever, no, I would tend to that.
Right.
I would hold that space. I would love that being through it.
Mm-hmm.
So why would I not do that for me? And I mean, once you can answer that question truthfully and start approaching things that way, everything is different.
I agree.
Everything is
I agree.
sometimes I if you set that intention, even if you're doing other things with the mindfulness of what you're processing, sometimes it could be either in the car or while folding laundry and say, oh, and it occurs to you, it's like, okay, and then you can sit and allow it to finish that process with full attention and intention.
And there are things that you observe that have always been there
Mhm.
that you never see, just like when we were practicing with mindful eating. And you said, I never knew grapes had a smell.
Right.
And it's
I've
like,
never
yeah,
thought
because
of
we're
smell
just
different.
chomping,
Yeah.
just shoveling them in.
Right.
And the broccoli with the broccoli, but then there's the
Oh,
little,
the fractal,
The
the fractal of broccoli. Yeah.
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 So there, and that's just a small example.
Right.
Imagine all the stimulus and input we get, in just our waking hours.
Yeah.
I mean, that's got to be overwhelming.
Mhm.
And with screens and TV and constant barrage of sensory input.
Yeah, no, and one thing that I have noticed, even yesterday, sometimes we spend so much time cooking and preparing a meal, and then we rush through it because we don't observe and are present with it. And it's fascinating to actually do it because it's a connection that you create.
Right.
Well, and imagine how it used to be when you would go out and you would cultivate the earth and you would plant that seed and then you would harvest that and then you would prepare it and then you would consume it. I mean, and you took it the whole path.
Right. Well, and that's what I find when I garden, right? When you take the
Mhm.
stuff out of the garden and you have a different appreciation for it, right? Because you're
Absolutely.
completely present with that food going, we've been together since the beginning, right?
Right,
Kind of thing,
right.
you know?
And that sense of gratitude just naturally is there.
Right.
It's just there. And with that gratitude comes that full circle of, okay, I can take that gratitude forward with me and I don't need to take all the other baggage that I had to go through to get that gratitude. And so that's what you carry forward in your spiral.
Right.
Mhm.
And that's what allows your spiral to just be enriched and be that, best life ever.
And so, we say that's easy, but like I said, we thought that doing a body scan in observance would be easy. And you're like, oh,
I got that.
I got this. And it's like, oh, why don't you, oh, no, I got to just stick with this, right? Oh, I went, no, and it's like, oh, I see this. Oh, no. And it's funny that I had not, until we did that, I had not realized how automatic it had become for me.
Oh, right. It's like autopilot. Oh,
Yeah.
the brain just gets switched to that mode. And it's like,
Because the first step is remembering that we can do that. And then it's like, oh, it's like a magical playground and I can do this. And it's like, right. But it's almost like the difference of, putting one Band-Aid on top of another until you just look at each layer and be like, okay.
well,
There's
even
parts that feel a little bit.
Yeah.
right, and even sitting and allowing the floor to support you.
Yes.
When I found that when I just focused on that, it was like I felt the floor in places that I wasn't previous to.
Right.
And it was like I really felt myself just allow, and that level of relaxation was like, I so needed that.
Right.
I so needed that.
Right. Yeah. So take time this week. I think we're going to go to our clearing now because we pretty much got that.
I know,
done.
that was,
It's pretty
that was
simple
fun.
and it's really powerful. So this is the, so what do? It's to stop with anything and try that with yourself. Try doing a body scan and not do anything. Just observe it.
Right.
And don't judge it and just say.
And when we say observe it with your senses. What am I feeling?
Right. Do I feel pain? Can I feel pain and observe it without succumbing to it or being propelled by it or pulled in by it or
or even restraining it or restricting it, because last night it was on my throat and I was going to cough and I'm like, I have to cough a little bit, and letting it be too.
Yeah.
Well, and what am I feeling cold? Am I feeling the chair I'm sitting in or the floor I'm laying on or the bed? Is it cradling me? Is it cushioning me? And do I feel my pulse? Do I feel the pulsing? And just observe that and almost like you know, as we were instructed, almost be like that scientist.
Yeah.
Saying, I'm here to make notes on all the things that I can observe.
Yes.
And making connections within your body. Like if, for example, you're focusing on one area and something pulls your attention, like your knee, you know, what's the correlation? And observe that, because the whole body is connected. So,
Right.
Well, and it holds, like, you know, last night was the looking at everything in the cells, because we had done so much change work this weekend, right? That the cells were like, and all of us were a little fidgety, I think, on the floor last night when we were doing it. And I was like, and I'm like, interesting. And I was like, okay, so I'm just going to sit with this and observe it. And then I'm like, okay, let me look into the cells. And I saw all this stuff, just like, because everything hit so many things that we had changed.
Right.
Ready to have, we're changing and discarding and rearranging. And I just sat and just sat with it, instead of, like, as the mind wanted to go, what's that? Like, what is that? Oh, well, we can smooth that out.
Right.
And I was like, no, we can just
Scoop that out.
and I'm not going to judge myself for fidgeting. I'm going to honor that. And I'm going to stay present in it. And I'm going to still, like, do the scan.
Right.
And like you with the cough, right? It's just, we got to do it. I'm going to just watch it, you know, or I feel uncomfortable here. I feel this twinge here. And I'll look at all the cells that are shifting and moving and, you know, like releasing and whatever. And it's like, okay, well, I'm just going to breathe, and I'm going to continue breathing, and I'm going to just watch it.
because in observation at a more expanded level is how you feel the energy itself in your body.
Yes.
Like if you touch something and you get shocked, it's the same thing. It's like sometimes you feel stuck energy in different places, and that's what brings the awareness of maybe there's something I need to look at.
Well, and that's when we see, oh, of course, that's why I have pain in this knee, because I'm holding this energy in my body. And that's when it becomes easy, because that's the question we get all the time too, is, well, how do you see that stuff? Well, yes, we are actually pretty adept at that, but that's taken a lot of practice. And we've done presence, but not to this level, right? And again, it becomes an automatic thing of, oh, I'm going to shift, oh, I'm going to power, and that's our energetic way of powering through. Like, I'm just going to change that.
And being open to do it different ways, because for me, for example, one of the reasons why I was fidgety was because I typically do it when I'm stretching or doing yoga, and then being able to do it just in full relaxation, I was like, and I did move at some points, because it's what helps me move that energy consciously.
Right.
So being okay and open to allow yourself also to do it how it speaks to you, how you feel.
Well, and then when we do that, then we can naturally, you know, many ask us, well, how do you know what is affecting my hip problems or what's affecting my back problem? It's like, well, because you start seeing that correlation, right? Oh, in the cells in my back, I'm holding this, because when you do that presence thing, you do start to see it.
Well,
And feel it and know it.
And then coming in from that place of observation into just gratitude, chances are it will just release.
Yes.
Let go all on its own.
Thank you for showing that to me, because I was hiding it from myself.
All without the doing.
Yes.
And that right there is truly the power of that self-healing we talk about.
Yes. Which is all it ever is.
Right.
Really.
Right.
We
There
only
is no
heal
other
ourselves.
time.
We only heal ourselves anyway. Nobody heals us. So there's our tip for the week. We don't heal anybody, and nobody heals us.
Right.
We simply hold the space to allow others to do that, help them remember the frequencies they've forgotten, and let them do the healing. And we do our own as well in the same way. We do work together, and we hold the space with each other, and then it's like, up to you. Do you want to take that or not?
Right. Your choice. Your choice.
And it's always in the power of us. So
The clearing
for today
right
is I allow myself to be present with everything.
right.
How about I just allow myself to be present?
Yeah, I like that.
I allow myself to be fully present. Yeah, it feels like there needs to be something else in there, but nothing needs to be there. So
I like it.
yeah, okay.
I like it.
All right, so as we always do, everybody, you know, get comfortable, close your eyes, take a deep breath as we step out of separation into wholeness and oneness. and we set ourselves at the vibration where that is our truth, that is from where we exist, create, and experience. All right. That felt nice when it took me a couple minutes to get there. All of a sudden I was like, oh, my back was uncomfortable and this, and I was like, just be present with it.
I was feeling a lot of pulsation.
I did it.
Yeah.
To the point that I was like,
Yeah.
wait,
I almost felt like I was rocking.
That's our vortex that we haven't closed yet, you know, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, me too. I started doing the little
Oh my
circles.
God, I got really hot. I was like, the air conditioning's running. Why is it hot?
Yeah.
Mhm. The other thing that came to me is what a great time of year to practice this is it's spring. There's so much emerging and there's so much to observe that wasn't there yesterday. And it's like, you know, not March Madness, but how about March Presence?
Yeah.
And, you know, maybe this is something that will evolve through the month of how you can apply this.
Yeah, because like I think we were talking yesterday about when I used to have my herb nursery, right? And that is probably the first step I took into really learning presence, because there's nothing with plants but presence.
Right.
And so
Right.
you're watching them every day.
Well,
And then
and
you start to learn, you start to see little subtle changes, and you start to understand the way their rhythm and patterns go.
you can detect potential problems before they become detrimental because you've been in that observation and that presence, and you've learned that what's normal and what's not normal, or what's healthy and what's unhealthy.
and helping us to get to that presence is also teaching us patience. They don't sprout overnight.
All right.
You know, it's that.
Right. And I said to people, like when they come into sessions, I've said, so what do you do that lets you be, and I do actually say that, what do you do that lets you be just present in your happiness, like in who you are and all that kind of stuff? And I'm like, you know, it doesn't have to be this formal meditation. It's like, you know, some people like mowing the lawn is, you know, I like mowing the
That's a big
lawn.
one.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and then some people it's gardening, because, and people don't realize it's being with nature, because nature shows us to reminds us how to be present. Trees.
It's nothing but present.
Yes.
That's for sure.
Sit with your trees.
Right.
Talk about presence. And they do. The most fascinating thing about trees is they've done a whole bunch of studies, and there's a whole book on the secret life of trees. Yeah. And a guy who did a bunch of, you know, studying or whatever, that, you know, trees communicate with each other. It is like in the movie Avatar, you know, they do communicate with each other. It's just not in the same time frame that we do, because they live in a much different, you know, perspective of presence, right?
And time is a human
Construct, yes.
not a tree one. And they have their own rhythm and their own time, but it's more like the seasons and the sun and the water and those things. Not, my watch says I should eat now.
Right. And I mean, trees will change their chemistry when an animal that eats its leaves approaches so that it tastes more bitter. Yeah. To preserve its life, you know.
And when one tree is struggling, they send water that way.
Yes.
Or the scent, they have a sense, a smelling sense, or a sense that warns others that, okay, this one is going through something, so be aware.
Right.
And I find that my intuitive skills and my connection is like even more amplified when I'm just present in something, right? When we're present, like when we're like just present with each other, how many times we finish each other's sentences or have the same thoughts, and it's effortless. That, you know, people talk about, oh, practice your telepathic communication. You know, hey, practice telepathic communication, presence.
Yes.
Because the more you're in presence, the more then you are in that saturation of like wholeness and oneness and your connection to everything. And then it's not even it's just,
it's your natural state of being.
It's just connection. Yeah. So baby steps, just be present with, you know, choose something. Just be present with your body. Do a body scan like that. Be present with your food. Just be present with, if something comes up that triggers you, just be present with it. Just look at it. Don't judge it. Don't judge it as good or bad. Don't judge it as, you know, I want to run the other way, which the ego sometimes does, right? Or even to it. I want to run to it because that feels so much better and comforting to me. Well, let me just look at that. Right.
What does that say?
What is that telling me that I'm not looking at otherwise because I'm just going and doing? So lots of fun that can be open with that.
So if you want to hear more about this, like, love, share, subscribe, follow, all those things.
Yeah.
So you can make sure that you hear more about this as we put it out there.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thanks for joining us. This is Angela Coulter and
Sarah C. Gavignoni
with our special friend.
Yashmi.
We'll see you next time. Thank you.